Here.
Here. Before we go on to number 2, I just want to make a slight comment. It's brought to my attention that there will be people who will be thinking about what we're talking about and who have concerns about this meeting. So I ask that all the trustees stay on topic, so we are not in violation of the Open Meetings Act, because I do know that some people are worried about that. I'd like to thank you guys for coming to the meeting, as well as the audience for this meeting that I called. That's another misconception that I wanted to make sure. I know that some people are getting blamed for calling this meeting. I do want to just make everybody aware that I called this meeting. I did reach out to trustees with the village clerk as well, and I had some concerns. I had some questions, and I did address those questions. And as a result, I asked for this meeting to happen because I would like the questions to be addressed as a board. That being said, trustees are passing out. I am passing out an outline that I prepared for myself to kind of help us keep on task for the meeting. And I will read for the audience who is obviously doesn't have a copy. My intention for this meeting is to give a list of a better reason why we call this meeting. I will list the facts as I know them, my assumptions, and lastly pose several questions for the board as a whole to discuss and answer. Okay? This cancellation of the meetings was presented as a budget cut, as a way to reduce the budget. So I do have a couple questions. So if the trustees will read through that. I'll give you guys a minute. Basically, the facts that are stated are that on the 12th of December, a suggestion of the reduction of pay for elected officials was to become effective starting in April. That we expected that to be on the next agenda. That was not on the next agenda. That was not voted on at that time. Neither was the motion that would be needed in order to move the inauguration date, which we would have to have in order to change our pay in that time. Neither of those motions were on the next agenda after the December 2nd meeting. The board as a whole, prior to the December 23rd meeting, as the board as a whole did discuss the cancellation of the December 23rd meeting. And prior to the December 16th meeting, the board received an email stating that there would not be a meeting on the 16th, and we received the new schedule that was slightly different than what we are accustomed to as a village. Okay? Because of that, that posed some questions with me that I thought that the entire board needed to discuss. So my questions are as follows. Is this the future of Sauk Village? Are we going to go with minimal formal meetings in exchange for more discussions? When I asked about the reduction in the meeting structure, which is what all of our residents are used to board meetings, to committee meetings, a month. They know when they can come up and talk about anything. They know when they can only speak to, excuse me, when they can only speak on agenda items only. This is the structure, this is the format that we've gotten our residents accustomed to. So I asked, are we changing the structure? I wanted to make sure that our residents had the opportunity to not only meet in a formal setting with us, but also have the opportunity to ask their questions, have it be a part of public record, show the accountability that they are presenting things, have our department heads here, and have their accountability for that. It was told to me that Trustee Burgess does have town hall meetings, and that the mayor will be starting the Meet the Mayor sessions in January, and that residents will obviously be invited to those items, and that discussions can be had there. I think that a more formal setting is a board meeting. Holds up with accountability. It also allows all the opportunities for all of the department heads, all of the board of trustees to be able to participate in that discussion of topics, not just, and this isn't to be derogatory in any way to Trustee Burgess or to the mayor, but not just to those individuals who are, in a sense, hosting these events. I think that when a resident has a question, they're posing it to the entire board, not just to those two individuals. So I'm not saying anything about either one of those individuals or the meetings that they hold, but I don't think that that's the proper, in my opinion, these are just all my opinions, that I don't think that's necessarily the best way to present a residential concern. So this is my question that I pose to the board. As a board, are we looking forward to have minimal formal meetings in return for Trustee Burgess's town hall meetings and the mayor's and the mayor meetings as a way to, as a cost savings, okay? Also, the mayor has been running everyday day-to-day business for the village in the absence of the village manager. Trustees were named as liaisons for certain departments. Some have been more involved than others. Should there be a discussion that's held about the trustees and the department has responsibilities with each other and their communication? I think that the mayor has put on several occasions for our agendas about cost-saving initiatives. And I think one of the ways that we can do that is if we do play a more active role with our departments and go directly to them about cost cutting. You know, how many of us have really gone through the budgets, the line items of our departments that we've been told to create and really go through line by line and see what we can go through, what we can cut. You know, now is the time that we're going to be looking at, we should be looking at the budget year for the fiscal year of 2015-2016. If we're staying on schedule, our budget should roll out May 1st. So I know some may think that it's a little premature, but now would be the time when we should be looking at these line items going with our department heads. So my question that I'm posing to the board, because I don't think that this is a unilateral decision that any one person should make. I think it's something that the board should be discussing and that the board should move forward with. So these are my concerns. These are my questions. This is why I asked for the meeting. I like discussion from the board.
Okay, you had several questions. Which one do you want to answer for?
Whichever one you can give me an answer for. And not necessarily just an answer. If you have additional discussion topics, as long as you say, my focus is on the other ways to fight our budget concern. We all know the budgetary crisis that we're in. I just don't think necessarily changing the shift of the way the villages normally run, kind of upsetting the way our villages, our residents have been kind of trained to present issues to us. I think that there's another way. So I'd like to know, based on my concerns or any other suggestions that the trustees have, now would be the time to discuss it. Trustee Washington.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Mayor, I would just like to say I concur with your sentiments in regard to the format that we already have in place, where the residents can come and they can voice their concerns twice a month at the Committee of the Whole meetings. I did address it formally to the community on this week with great response. I feel that it was premature for the mayor to make a decision alone to change the format and not inform us, but to more or less inform, not to ask us, but to inform us this is the way that it's going to be. Personally, I'm one person and I have one vote, and I feel that it's a disservice to people that work a 9 to 5 every day. They can't really make 1 or 2 meetings a month. That's why they come on the other months, on other days in the month when it's not a venue where they could ask whatever they want, and they ask questions that they need answered, and we have to tell them that's not on the agenda because they don't know that they cannot talk about anything other than agenda items on those other 2 alternative Tuesdays. So, but I did talk in the community based on what the residents want. They are very vocal about wanting to keep the format as it is, and they want the board to know that. They are even willing to sign a petition that they don't like it this way. They don't have a problem with any of the elected officials having their own private meetings, but they do appreciate the sanctioned meetings that's been sanctioned for the village to hold 4 times a month. 2 with the Committee of the Whole, and then we have things that come up. And I also feel that, you know, I hope I'm staying on task. Since the mayor made this decision, the finance director, Mohan, he has to text us or email us 1 by 1 to ask us, can I pay this bill? Can I pay that bill? I mean, like I said, what if you type one wrong number, put a comma somewhere when he's texting or emailing us? Every single thing he wants to do from now until the end of Well, it would have been until January the 20th. I found out the mayor just added another meeting date for the 13th. So it's hard on the finance director to keep up with all of our responses. So we can have an open meetings act where we can hear what he needs to say, he can hear how we voted on what he needs to pay, and the audience can hear what's going on. It's their taxes that's paying the bills, and everybody can be on the same page and be involved. So that was my only concern. I feel that to just abruptly change the format, and the mayor did say to me, in the conversation that I had with him, you said you had a conversation with the mayor, he said to me that the school board only meets once a month, and they're doing fine, so why can't the village meet once a month? And I just told him that I felt it was inappropriate, and I didn't feel that would, be feasible for us with the vast things that we have to do, consuming and inclusive of the police department, the fire department, public works, to meet once a month. So he said that he was going to continue to think about it because he has the authority to make the decision as the mayor. So.
Jackie Burke.
Thank you. Let me start from the beginning. Back in June, I had already went over the budget and had some questions and brought it to the mayor and to the board that the budget that we have at that time was not going to work. I knew that back in June, that in December we would be where we're at right now, and guess what, we're here. I asked to have a few things altered on that budget at that time, and the following meeting, the only thing we talked about was what I had asked, and we went over it paragraph by paragraph, and we ended up voting on it anyway. We got the majority vote. There are some things in the budget that need to be altered. There's some things that need to be changed. I do talk to Mohan on a weekly basis, probably up here now since I retired, up here maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And I go over those things. The reason why you did get emails is because I told them to send them out because we had to borrow money from other funds in order to pay payroll and make other payments. It just so happened we didn't have to borrow as much as we thought. But I get a report each and every month, a comparison report, where we're at right now, and I even talked to him and asked him about that. I even asked at one of the board meetings, if you look at, and I'm sure the clerk has probably put it into the minutes, about some of the things we can do right now to save some money. I do have the comparison report now. I mean, I don't know if you want to go over it today, but there's some things that we can do. One of the big reasons, and one of the big cuts that we can have, I won't say cuts, but things we can look at, are our lawyers. We go back and renegotiate. We don't have the kind of money that other municipalities have to pay the lawyers. I know we have a lot of litigation, but we need to rethink this, and I'm glad. And I really am glad, trustee, that you brought this up, that you called this meeting because it's something that needed to be done. The board meetings were canceled without the consent of the board. I don't know how that happened, but it was done that way. The mayor wanted to cut the money of the trustees. I hope he understood that only way to do that, when you put it as a referendum on the ballot, it only cuts the ones that are coming into office. It has nothing to do with the ones that are in office. The ones that are in office and not running for the next term, their money won't be cut. It'll just be the ones that are taking office at that particular time. So there's no savings. There's not really a lot of savings there. But we have other departments where we can go into, we can look at it line item by line item. Have the money either, raise fees or whatever, but not, what did we say before? $40,000 in 4 years. If it gets to that point, there's other things that we can do. And I did bring these things up. But I'm so glad now that it's brought to the attention, that now we're talking about it. Hopefully we can move forward with it. And I see, it's just a shame that it's too late, that it's so late that we're doing this, but we are doing it. And that's the way that it needs to be, because going into the next budget, we have to be ready. We have to discuss these things, have several meetings if necessary, because there's going to be some drastic changes. It has to be. We're in a shortfall right now. This is just December. We still got 4 more months for this budget to end. We're in a shortfall now, so we have to look at some of the things that we did, and we have to cut some things or reallocate some things. But I'm glad that we're finally doing that now, and I appreciate that.
Just a couple of things to mention. That the meetings that we're currently having, we're still involved in this fiscal year. They were budgeted for.
Yes.
Okay. And I know that you have definitely brought up some budgetary concerns. You did come through with a packet. I would not be opposed to revisiting that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but revisiting that. But the concern, and I know I stated it then, I still have a similar concern. I never went through the packet though, so I don't know exactly the wording that you put out. The way it was presented, you did identify many concerns, but not as many resolutions. So I think that's something, and I think I said it at the time, that's something that the entire board needs to look at, review, and come back to the table. Because I don't think that this is one person's responsibility, including just the mayor's. The budget is not just the mayor's responsibility. It is something that the entire board needs to be a part of. But we need to have all the information. And I don't think that that's something that we can effectively do if we don't have the information. And your outline, the problems that you presented, they seemed very thought out, but there was no resolution behind it that I could see, unless I was wrong. Which is why I stated that that was something, and I think I said it then, this was something that needed to be brought to the committee meeting, have the opportunity to discuss.
And you're absolutely right. I didn't put I didn't put down how we can do it. I wanted the board. I don't want to just put my will on it and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to resolve this. No.
And I don't disagree with that.
I wanted the board to say, okay, this is the problem that we have. Let's try to resolve it. And I can give a suggestion, but that's all that would be. I didn't want to put resolve there and say, okay, this is the way I want to know it. And as you know, Madam Pro Tem, every year at budget meetings, we used to have from at the very beginning when you first became trustee, we had it 2 days.
Yes.
Now then they started getting shorter and shorter and shorter until we get cliff notes. We needed to go up because we're at a stage now. We have a lot of transit. We don't have a lot. We have a lot of homes that aren't paying taxes, but we kept everything status quo. That cannot happen. We cannot have only. I would just say, for example, only 5,000 people paying taxes, but we're basing our services on 10,000 people paying for it. So we have to make some choices. They're hard choices, but we have to do it as a board. It shouldn't be done as one person. So everybody can just say, well, he's the one that cut this, and he's the one that cut that, and he's the one that did that, because that's what happened before.
And I think that you're right, that does happen. And I think that a lot of the time, I think that sometimes people get a little skittish. I've never been one of those people. I'm not running in April, and my term's not up. And B, even if it was, I'm going to think the way I think no matter what. I've never been one to kind of change who I am before election time. So I think that it's important that we bring these up. I've always been in favor for, raising fees slowly at intricate, at stacked levels. I'm not saying we should throw anything at one person, because obviously I'm a homeowner, I'm a taxpayer, I'm not trying to pay any more taxes either, but the reality is, I've said multiple times in multiple budget meetings throughout the course of the year, I've been a trustee for 9.5 years, you only have 2 options. Your biggest money in your budget is your personnel. So we can cut personnel and services, or we have to raise fees. There's no other option. There's not. So those are our only choices. And in the past, we've cut personnel, and I haven't voted for it. I hate to think about people losing their jobs, or the residents losing their services. So if there's another way, I would like to find another way. But I don't think it's something that can be done by one person. And I think that we're all under the same idea of that. And I'm not a fan of doing things. I always said it, the meeting before the meeting. We know what's going on. Everybody needs to stay informed. This is just my opinion. Again, everything I'm saying is just my opinion. I, for one, the mayor, I'm sure everybody got the email that he said that city would not be here tonight. He did ask that any of our concerns or anything be directed to the village clerk, so the village clerk could pass them on to him. I think it's time that we start talking about the budget. Not only for 2014, 2015, but I don't think it's too early to start talking about the 2015, 2016 budget. The meetings that we were talking about, you know, I will be honest, to say that we're not going to have a board meeting for 5 weeks kind of floored me. I'm not sure how the business of the village can run without having the people who run the village in a whole kind of meet. So that's why I was concerned. I understand that it's a budgetary way to cut costs, but I have to think there's another way. So I think that's kind of that needs to be our responsibility. I don't think it should be all up to the mayor. I don't think we should have that burden all on him. You know, we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we need to be the elected officials that we are elected to be. So, that being said, my personal opinion is I would like the village clerk to ask the mayor if we can have a budget meeting strictly on the 2014-2015 budget. I'd like to see if there are areas that we can cut from this fiscal year. Trustee Burgess, if you would not mind making copies of the suggestions that you had prior to that meeting, that would give the board the opportunity to review them, to possibly come to the table with resolutions. If anybody else has any items that they've identified as issues, and more specifically, any resolutions to those issues, I would like that to be presented at that time. And I'm not asking for this meeting to happen anytime soon. I think that it's going to take some time to do some homework. You know, and I think that's what we all need to do. So if we could pass that on to the mayor.
Excuse me, Mayor, my name is Justin. You said full time soon. The next committee meeting will be January 20th. Is that enough time, or do you want to wait till Mohawk gets back, which will probably be the first committee meeting in February?
Right.
What is the board?
I would suggest the finance director need to be here.
What I was going to say is, I do have the comparisons up until November 30th, how much money we paid out.
Can you guys use mics, please?
Can you hear? Okay. Okay, I have the comparisons for the last 7 months up to November 30th of how much we have paid, what we still, how much money we have gotten in versus how much we're supposed to get in or how much we budgeted. I have these right here, which I went over many times. I went over when we had it last in October. Right now, we're still, some things we're behind. In other words, we're over budgeted. Some things we haven't gotten to the budget yet. So these are some of the things that, yes, everyone can get a copy of this. I'm sure when Mohan gets back, he can run a copy off. I was trying to get one today, and I asked to have one to have one for December, and I guess he forgot about it. So I did call him, but I never got an answer back from him today. But these are the comparisons of how much money we've taken in up until November 30th, how much we paid out, what departments over budget. Back in the day, and I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Williams can tell you, back in the day when your department got close to being over budgeted, you would call and say, wait a minute, you can't spend any more money. Even the trustees, even when I had Parks and Recs, I asked to have something, supplies brought, and had swings and everything brought in, and they said, well, you only have X amount of money in your budget. Unless you can go out there and get some more money, we can't afford that. I even asked for certain, and it was voted on by the entire board whether or not we move forward with that. And that's something we need to bring back because that's the only way we had a village manager at that time. That's something we need to bring back. If the department is about to go over budget or they're spending too much or whatever, we need to stop that right then and there. Don't wait and assume somebody else is going to do it. That's why I get these. You know, because right now we're over budgeted on overtime. And that's something that we need to do. I already said that was going to happen because it was cut so high. It was really cut high. But, you know, we need to look at our vendors. We need to look and see if we can shop out there or we can talk to them. I would rather go and talk to them. I'm sure they understand that we just don't have the money. Because next year I'm going to be an advocate, if I'm still here, I'm going to be an advocate against all this spending for these vendors. We don't have it like that anymore. But I do have the numbers. And like I said, I don't know if you want to go over this, like 30 pages. No, I'll take that back. It's 38 pages. But there are some things here that we are over. We have overspent. And we need to look at it. And this should have been addressed a long time ago. It shouldn't wait until we get to this point. It should be done when we see that we've only been in there 6 months and we spent 80% of the money that was allotted for that particular line item, and we need to stop something right there. And that's how we become stressed out or over budgeted. So those are the things that I said before. We used to vote on every little thing. And a lot of people would ask why, because that's how you keep checks and balances. You can't say, well, I didn't know about this. Yes, you did. So that's some of the things that I think that we can look at, and you're absolutely right. We need to get started on this as soon as possible.
And I think that in the days prior to 2009 and that election, when you had Dick Teacher who was here for 20 years, who knew everything about everything, and the information was very forthcoming, and that was his job. We have a mayor who works full-time and is a part-time mayor. We have a part-time village clerk who has other responsibilities as well, and we have a finance director. And those three individuals are trying to do their own responsibilities that they have on top of the combined effort of the village manager. Excuse me. And I think we see now how that's been a hindrance. We have suffered. Trustee Burgess, it's unfortunate that only you and myself and the mayor know those days. We know the days of the information flow, and we know the days of kind of what was. I don't know without that position if we can bring it back to those days, but it's something that I think that we're going to have to try to do.
Thank you. There's a couple things. Trustee Burgess, you said you do have the paper shows our percentage for each department in the village. Overall, I don't know if you can. Overall, are we way over, medium, under? Could you elaborate on that?
I can give you a quick summary. We're going to start with the professional services. We budgeted $550,000 for professional services. We've already spent $409,000, and we still have 4 months to go. We have, this is what I even asked Mohan about this, because I could not understand this. Publications and memberships. We budgeted $10,000. We spent already $18,000. I don't understand that. Now we're going to go to something that I've been saying for a while. The police department, which is our biggest draw. They're the most employees. They're out there. I'm not faulting them, and please don't get this twisted or whatever. I'm just reporting the facts. We budgeted for overtime for the year for the police department at $160,000. As of November 30th, we've already spent $170,000. We still got 4 months to go with overtime.
Did you say 170?
$170,000. We spent that in overtime. You can attribute it to whatever, but we spent that in overtime.
Trustee cut me off if I can't say it here. Now, is that on the situation we have in the dispatch?
No, this is just the police department. It's nothing to just. I mean, some people can say because we had murders and things like that, just like snow. We have a bad winter, we're gonna spend more money. But you have to plan for that. You have to put money aside. And also we should have a reserve that we should have every year that we should put aside in case something like this does happen. Vehicle repair. I even asked about this one too. We have zero amount budgeted for vehicle repair because we were supposed to get cars and things like that. we've already spent on vehicle repair $30,000. And there was nothing budgeted for that. Now,
Trustee Burgess, is that over the police department?
this is the police department. This is all police department. Professional services, I guess it would be.
Whose phone is that?
She stepped out.
I'm sorry.
Professional services, which I don't understand because I thought the lawyers were part of that, but it could be something else. Anyway, we budgeted for $7,000. It was budgeted at $7,000. We've already spent $39,000.
Which department was that?
This is still police.
What specifically?
Professional services. And then it's just other contractual services, which I understand what that is, but we've over budgeted on that. We budgeted $110,000, and I actually spent $119,000 as of November 30th.
And that's
It just says other contractual services. That could be a lot of different things. Doesn't necessarily have to be our lawyers, it could be whatever. Or other contractual services. It doesn't say anything.
If you'd like to give me copies.
Yes, I was going to say it's 39 pages. But what I'm trying to say is this: right now we're roughly, just for this budget, just for this particular fiscal year, the original amount that was budgeted for the whole budget was $2,659,749. That's what was budgeted if we add up everything. Right now, we've already spent $1,838,000, which we've already spent 69% of that budget that was budgeted. And we're into just the 7th month. Well, this was just for, excuse me, the end of November. We still got December, January, February, March, and April. So to say that we're going to be over budgeted, yes, we are. Numbers don't lie. But only thing I'm saying is that's why I said we have to look at each department and weed it out and say, okay, well, right now you can't do this. We cannot stop personnel. But we can stop other issues. We can stop other things that are being done. Publications, memberships, things like that that are paid out of that. We can put a halt to that because there's no money for that. I'd rather see that than to go in and try to cut personnel at this time. The little perks that we have to hold those accountable. We need to look at the mileage from something I brought up 3 years ago by looking at the mileage, because mileage does cause vehicle repair. We need to look at those things. There's a lot of things we can look at. Like I said, I'm glad this meeting is here, because there's so many things that we can look at, and we can either stymie or we can bring it back to reality between now and April. At least we won't be as bad as we are if we start looking at it right now. That's why I appreciate that we can do this now rather than wait to the point that we don't, we don't have, we borrow off every fund that we have. We got to have money to put that back. Yes, we'll get money now February, March when taxes come. But that's supposed to be part of the budget. That's for paying back. That's supposed to be part of the budget, not going at that time. So I'm glad that we're doing this. We need to look at other things. We need to get a handle on this right now. And like I said, I tried to get a copy for December, which would be the 8th month, and I'm sure it's going to be worse than this. But, you know, I don't understand the toll release. That's one other thing I wanted to bring up, the toll release fund. This is under revenue. We budgeted for $220,000. Right now, we've already received $107,000, so that's right on track. All the other fines and everything is right on track as far as money that we're getting in. That we said we're going to get in, our expenditures is what the problem is. Our expenditures are over. We're right on track with what we said we were going to receive from different entities that we have in the village. Everything is right on track with the money that's coming in, but we're over on the money that's going out, and that's what's creating the shortfall.
Later on, I'll cover that just a little deeper. We're on track to the figure that was gave to us, yes, but we're not on track on the overall.
Well, we're on track for the revenue.
Right. That we was been told that we had out there.
Yeah, the revenue that we budgeted for, we're on track receiving that. where we're having a shortfall is what we're paying out. And we have to get a handle on that.
Trustee, I'll be meeting with you. We're not on track with some outstanding.
Oh, but I mean, I'll stand
And
that.
that's what I meant. I
And
mean,
you're right.
They gave us what the current, the road and current, they figured that they will write during this fiscal year. However, there's almost 4, if not 5, 6 years back that nothing was ever done in collecting the fine, and they pretty much so just stayed out there in limbo. And we have found a lot of, not errors, but a lot of debts that we need to call in, and that's the problem that the board is working on, to go through the collector office to help us to receive some of those fines back. But I will cover that with the trustees at the meeting we're having in 13. The other question I have for you is that, excuse me, as the finance trustee, do you know that the mayor or your committee met monthly with these department heads and asked them where we can cut at? My biggest concern is that my department that I'm liaison of constantly asking, why don't the finance person ask us where we can make the cuts? You think that would help us if we do that?
Okay, first of all, let me explain, and as I said before, I'm here all the time. I've talked to all the departments.
You do.
And I've asked each department head, when was the last time you met with the mayor? And they told me months ago. I cannot, and this is, I'm going to say this again, I cannot and go in there and tell them what they can and cannot spend. That's what we're here for. That's what the trustees are here. We bring it before the board and have a special meeting or whatever, and then we can say, okay, they're going to be over budgeted. What are we going to do if we buy this? Do we get this and go into the hole, or do we wait? Those decisions were not made by this board. Those were made individually. I understand the mayor makes certain decisions, which he should, but when it gets to the point when we're over, then, because if you ask this board, can we go into that fund and pull money out? But you don't ask the board, do we need to spend that money for whatever, or tell the department heads, hey,
Correct me if I'm wrong, I hate to interrupt you. Isn't this board in charge of money? Don't we vote?
the trustees.
The mayor is the day-to-day.
All the money that has gone out, the trustees have voted. We do that by going through the accounts payable. So anytime that the mayor, the village, or the finance director has asked us about anything, using this money for this, X, Y, and Z, the board has to approve it. The board does vote out the money. So yes, that's true.
And I can see why Mohawk sent us
Right.
email.
The decision beforehand, I think what Trustee Curtis is saying is, if a department needs to buy X, and the decision isn't brought to the board, hey, I'm the chair of the podium committee and I need to buy X. I'm not coming to the board and saying, hey, I need this. That conversation may be had with just the finance director, with just the mayor, with just whoever, so then it's presented to the board. The podium committee needs this. This is how I suggest we pay for it. If the board thinks that the podium committee needs it, then we agree to it. What I'm suggesting, I think what Trustee Burgess is suggesting as well, is that there's more open communication about about kind of how we got there. And I want to be clear, because I did bring up the liaisons for each of the committees and everything, and, or each of the departments. I don't think it's anybody, I hope that it's nobody's idea up here or in the audience that any of the trustees can oversee a department. That we cannot go into a department and say, you need to do this, you can't do this. So I just want to make sure that we're all clear about that. But when I presented this as part of my topics for discussion, what I'm suggesting is kind of what you two were just talking about, having that monthly meeting or that bi-weekly meeting restructure it, but going over the budget for that month and the last 6, or however, this is just how I suggest, I mean, obviously, you're gonna have to work with your department head, but kind of going over and seeing not just budgetary concerns, there are personnel concerns, there are multiple concerns in every department. They come on Tuesday nights and they give their reports, but sometimes there's other questions that need to be asked. And I don't think it's fair to put all that responsibility on Mohan or on the mayor. I think it's something that we should be doing. And if they don't, I don't know when the last time the mayor had his meeting with the department heads, but we were all given the responsibility of the department. I know that I've asked publicly and privately, what is the expectation of the liaison? What type of direction or support from the mayor do we have with the liaison? Do our department heads really understand what we should be doing? Do they understand how the liaison relationship should be working? And that's my concern. That's my question. So I think that's another thing I'd like to talk about, and unfortunately the mayor's not here tonight, but that's another thing I would like to talk about at a future committee meeting, is kind of how we go from here. Because if I'm suggesting that liaisons should be an integral part of the financial part of this, liaisons have to have at least a little bit of direction. They have to have a little bit of support. Because sometimes walking into certain departments can be difficult. Obtaining information, having conversations. So I don't think that this is something that some of us haven't faced. So I think that having a clear cut, this is my expectation, because the mayor did appoint us to these positions. This is my expectation. This is what I would like the result to be, both for the department head and us. I know we've talked in different times, we've hired people, different times we've talked about contract negotiations. I know that it used to be a thing, 90 days, after 90 days you do a review. These are my expectations. Where have you met my expectations in 90 days? I think that this is something that needs to be happening, that I would like the mayor to create a liaison. And that's something that the clerk could pass on to the mayor. He did ask us to do these things. What does he expect of us? What kind of support is he going to give us? And then what does he expect from the department heads in return? That's the question.
Thank you, Pro-Mayor. Yeah. I just want to say that, what do you do when a person asks for cost-saving initiatives and you give them to them and then they don't do it? There's only so much you can say. There's only so much you can do.
And the only thing I would say to you as, a senior board member is you continue to present those ideas or come up with different ideas. I can't speak for the person that you present those ideas to. I think that as long as we can, as a board, individually and united, as long as we continue to know that the village and all that it entails is our number one responsibility and our goal, and that's what we're going to go for. If you present something and it's not seen in the best light or it's not followed through, present something else. Continue to present it. That's all I can say. I mean,
We just having a conversation, open, dialogue. We just have a conversation. But all these things that Trustee Burgess just talked about, what we budgeted for and what we've already spent, I mean, wouldn't it be if we had a village manager, a part of their responsibility to keep an eye on the day-to-day operations and the spendings of all of the departments and to kind of like oversee all of that?
Historically, that is what happened in the past.
And I just want to also say that when I made a suggestion, I think that was back in June, I said we do need a village manager based on what I've been hearing, and I would like to spearhead a committee to get a village manager. And at that time, the village clerk said I'd be on that committee, and other people did too. I just wanted to note for the record that we did meet with other people, and I did bring some people outside of Sauk Village, other mayors that the mayor know that offered to come and to bring their village manager because they knew ways that we could secure a village manager. And I'm just making a point by saying this. It was said to me, the person that found the money, had the grant, had have the knowledge, know how to be a village manager, of two, wanted to come and do the proposal and wanted to bring it and wanted to present it with grant money that they were going to be able to secure to pay for their own salary, and then the next 6 months or the next year be able to work with our budget to find grant money and oversee the daily operations of the village. And it was stated to me, the person that wants to do that also wants to be the village manager. And I just feel that anytime a person go out and do the research and do the proposal and do the work, no different than the gentleman that came here and did his presentation with the lights. He went and wrote the grant, he went and found the money, he came back, we agreed to let him do the lights for Sauk Village. He wasn't going to do all that work and all that research and bring all those proposals back for us to get a light contract to somebody else. Of course, if somebody go and do all of that work, they at least want to be considered for the job. So I feel confident in knowing that I did try throughout those private meetings with the mayor and people that I brought out here, as well as talking to the mayor with subcommittees, that I have brought people that are qualified to be a village manager so that they can bring their own resources and have grants. But at that point, the people that were able to do that wasn't the necessarily best choice that maybe the mayor of some or somebody just wanted to have. So when you're talking about cost-saving initiatives, and I just know as a board we all work very hard, but when I see spending like this, what we budgeted for, we've already spent, knowing that a village manager is a person that will play a great part of watching over this so it doesn't get to this point, and then we go out and we get a community together, and they come and they bring factual information, and they do the research, and they do the proposals and say, hey, I found a way where, but I would like to be able to interview for the job, but we don't want you to do it, but I'm not going to tell you my resources. As well as cost-saving initiatives, we've talked about employees that drive these vehicles home that live outside of Sauk Village 5 days a week, back and forth. Employees that work here, they drive our vehicles home. That's maintenance, that's gas, with the mileage. We've asked for mileage log sheets. We haven't seen anything done with that. It's a cost-saving initiative. We've talked about the cleaning services that haven't been out to bid for over 20 years. We've talked about how they told us we're no longer going to clean up the community center. I said, well, they're no longer cleaning up the community center, but they're still doing the police station and the village hall. Are we still paying them the same thing? I was told to talk to me later, and I never got an answer on that. So when you ask questions and when you do try to bring cost-saving initiatives and it's always shot down or it's not adhered to, I'm not asking anybody to go, but I suggest, but as a player on the team, I do play the game. So I don't want people to act like I'm not in the game and I'm not playing the game, but if you know to stand back and you want to be the pitcher and the hitter and run all the bases, I can sit on the sideline.
I just wanted to say, when you, and I said this before, you lead from the top, not from the bottom. You have people that are on this board in this community that we can utilize. All you do is ask.
There you go.
You cannot just alienate somebody because politics. Because politics is not what this village is about. This village is about people. And if you have people on there that give suggestions, that have the time to follow up on different things, why not use that? And quit worrying about, well, if I put him out there, he's going to get more publicity than I am. It's not about that. This is your money. And right now, I appreciate the trustee Washington as far as a village manager. But we all know that 2 years ago, that was brought up also, and they said, I got this, okay. But every mayor, and I'll go back to when I first came trustee, there was Mayor Peckman, then Mayor Towers, and now Mayor Hanks. Every mayor has told this board and has told these people that I'm a part-time mayor. So I can't, I can't expect this and this, but when you run for an office, you say, I can do all this. You have people, you have trustees on this board, you have people in the audience, you have people in the village, that if you go out there and ask them to help you do certain things, I'm sure they will. Everybody's not all about the money. But if you keep everything close to you and don't let people know what's going on, how are we supposed to know what to do? I sat down, I didn't bring all these things up that I brought, this whole dissertation and everything. It didn't happen overnight. I sat down and I thought about it. It took a while to do that. But to have it thrown out out like it was nothing. Yes, I felt offended because this was something that I took my time to do, to bring it before this board, and all we did was have a meeting to follow the meeting to go against everything that I said. We didn't need to do that. And I said, we're wasting time. If you're going to do this, then don't do that. But I appreciate a village manager. Yes, you do need a village manager to be out there day to day looking at your different departments. That's what the village manager does. But that's also what the mayor is supposed to do too. As they say, half and up on a job site, find out what everybody's doing. Go over and sit there over there at the police department for a day and find out what's going on there. Sit inside the dispatcher's office. Sit at that front desk and see what people are doing each and every day. That's what you do. I do it. A lot of trustees that I see come in, they do the same thing. Get involved. But to say, you know, I'm part-time, everybody's part-time. But you didn't become mayor for that reason. You became mayor so you can, and trustee, not just leave it at mayor. You became trustee. You became an elected official for the people. Give them all that you have. And you're right. You make suggestions, and if they're not talked about, keep bringing it up. Only thing I can tell you, there's a lady sitting in the audience right now, and she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Was told no every single time. No, we can't do this. No, we can't do that. And she went through, as I know, 3 administrations. And next thing I know, she had a lot to do with bringing that senior citizen and how it was supposed to look. But, and I'm just going to tell it now, no trustee, and you was here, Trustee Williams, and the mayor was here. No trustee had any input on how this building was supposed to look. None. We didn't know what the carpet was going to look like, what color the walls were, how the rooms were going to be situated. We were told to go over and take a look at it, and this is what it is. That's what you get if you don't get involved. If you take no for that, you won't take no for that when it comes time and you try to save some money, or you know that you can negotiate. But don't take no for an answer for that. If you feel that your cause is like Trustee said, try another way. But don't let one person or one thing stop you from trying to do what you want to do. But right now, as far as a village manager, we are already talking about we don't have the money, but even if we do have the money, this contract thing is involved in that. I still think we're under hiring freeze. I think that we still are under hiring freeze. So those are some of the things we have to look at. But yes, we do need somebody day to day to be out there, an authoritative figure, to go to these different departments and show up. Not confrontationally. Don't go in there in front of a person and say, why are you doing that? But make notes of things and bring it back. That's what you need to bring it back to the board.
And I do just want to I didn't want to interrupt you, Trustee Burgess, but I don't want this to turn into, you know, what the mayor has done versus what trustees have done. And this is not political. I don't care about anybody's politics. I don't care about who supports who. And that's my opinion. I don't care who gets the biggest headlines. I don't care. That's how this is. I've always been the type of person who, I'm probably the least political person on here. I don't want to be a politician. I'm a trustee for Sauk Village. I'm an elected official because that's the title they give me, but honestly, I come here, I run my committee, I come to the meetings, I do my best on here, but I don't care about the upcoming election in April. I don't care about the upcoming election 2 years from that. You know, what'll be is going to be. So I just want to make sure that we're sticking to the budget, not who did what, not what's going to happen here. I'd like to know how we can proceed with the budget. And I think, again, Trustee Burgess, when I mentioned that some trustees are more active in their liaisonship, is that a word? I just made it one. In their liaisonship, I do think, you know, you ask Mohan questions at board meetings. I know that I've gone in to see you all in there. I know that you're very active. And I think that as a finance, that's why we're here. I think that in this upcoming meeting that I am asking for the mayor to schedule on his committee meeting or putting it on the agenda, I think you are going to shed some light. I think you are going to have a lot of research materials that you can provide us beforehand. That's fine. But all I ask is that anybody who's going to bring an issue possibly have a way to have a resolution or be open to discussion. And I think that that's what I asked for then, was your packet that you had was 4 review. The rest of the board didn't have it, we did not have time to review it, and we did not have a chance as a board to discuss it. I do think, and I haven't read it, like I said, so there may be more things in there that I could bring to the table. There may be more things that trustee Morton, trustee Oscar, trustee Myers, anybody can stay in there. So,
Does everybody still have the packet?
I would suggest that whether we have it or not, I would suggest trustee Burgess, if you have that packet, if you would be so kind as to provide it to the village clerk, have her make copies. We can definitely, please, I would ask
I
that she.
have the trustee Burgess.
Okay.
Okay.
Should be that, along with what you did the previous, we need for after the holidays. But you guys have some side, you have 6 committee meetings between now, according to how it is scheduled, you have 6 committee meetings scheduled between now and April 31st, according to this calendar. So what you guys need to come up with is when do you plan on having this meeting, so I can get everything in front of you, knowing that, the finance director.
Will be back.
Yes.
And I do think that this is something, I'm asking that you present this to the mayor,
Right, I will.
so that if everybody's okay with that, then knowing that we would like Mohan to be here and have enough time to prepare for said meeting. I'm envisioning a time in February, but that's just me personally. I think that gives the board enough time to review, and it also gives our finance director enough time to come back and prepare. So that's something that, just my opinion. Also, we did state that I'd like for the mayor to kind of ask us about our role, to talk about that relationship, because I would like to know exactly how we can help the departments about cost saving initiatives and things like that. So does anybody else have anything to talk about for the actual budget portion of this, or can we open up to? I'm sure we have some questions. Yes, sir.
If I don't come about, like I said, I just want to piggyback off what you said about not, keeping it about politics and about caring about whatever. I don't care about any of it either, but the bottom line is, I don't care what organization or what I'm a part of. If you tell me there's a problem and I try to help fix the problem, but I'm not being heard, or for whatever reason it's not being able to happen, and in this, we're talking about your questions that you wrote, cost-saving initiatives was one of the things you wanted to talk about. If you're going to bring this up every single meeting, one by one, and ask us, what do you have for cost-saving initiatives? Anybody? And most of the time, we all sit there and don't say absolutely anything, week after week after week. In the first couple of weeks, I said a lot of things. And every single thing that I have said on this microphone, I have said it to the mayor and have no problem saying it to the mayor or to anybody else. That's why I make sure I say it twice. I'm going to repeat it again. However, I care about the village. I care about the people that live in this village. I care about how they feel about the finances and the economic development. All of that is a part of the finance. I'm glad that you did call this special meeting. I was glad that you cared enough about what was being said and done as far as us not having 5 consecutive minutes to talk about what's going on with the distribution of the payments of the payroll and of the bills, and Mohan trying to get all of this stuff done without us having committee of the whole meetings for the residents to have a chance to come and talk about what's near and dear to them and what they feel and things that they want to express. And as far as us talking about, I think your first question was something about, is this the way that we want to see the meetings from now on, to only have, to keep the format that we have, 2 meetings of the committee of the whole month and 2 committee board meetings a month. So did you ever get the answer to that question?
No, I'm not sure that, I wrote this prior to seeing the agenda, so I'm not sure that this idea of how the future structure of the meetings are going to work may not necessarily be a budgetary item, so I don't think it's something that we should discuss right now.
Or you just put it on there?
It is something that I would like the trustees to think about and to possibly discuss in a future committee meeting. Because I, for one, would like to know the answer, and so we can explain it to our residents. But it is something I think that we should hope for right now.
Okay. Well, with that being said and done, that concludes my statements for the night.
Any other trustees have any comments? Is that a no? Okay, I'm going to bring this mic down. I know we have a question.
Good evening, everyone. Sharon Archie Davenport, 21613 Gayleen Avenue. I have three things real quick. I do question, and I just would like a little clarity on, you all mentioned, several of you mentioned Mohan calls you individually to find out if you can pay bills to get things, and that almost sounds like voting individually on the phone when that's supposed to be done publicly. And I thought, being an OMA officer myself, I thought with Open Meetings Act that when it comes to decision making and voting, there's also supposed to be a public discussion about it, whether people are in the audience or not. The doors are supposed to be open for public discussion. So I was curious about that. Also, I was curious about how often are the bills paid? Are they paid as the bills come in, or do you pay once a month, twice a month, which would also help in your decision to find out how many meetings a month you need to have and have on time for the budget, the payments to be going out. If you're going to pay the bills once a month, then you can meet once a month. If you're going to pay it twice a month, then you need to meet twice a month, because I don't believe that bills can be paid without the vote of the trustees, because if it's paid and then you come back, you're basically just rubber stamping, and we want to have a transparency there. And then thirdly, have you all thought about getting a 5-year budget plan together? And that works even in sitting in your committees, you all, I think you said liaisons, we call them committees, and in committees you sit in, those that actually do the real work, you're kind of just sitting in, getting a little bit of input, and then you all come together with a recommendation to the board, and then bring it to the board, and you give that recommendation. The water department, was recommending, can we do this, that, and another. The police department, they want to do X, Y, and Z. And as that trustee, you oversee, you know the budget, you know what the board wants, so you can help that recommendation, and then the board will trust your judgment when that recommendation comes, because you've done your homework on it. So I was just wondering about those items.
Thank you. And thank you for staying to the agenda item only, because I didn't get back up here in time to announce that the questions will be directed to me and that we need to stay on that topic. Just to address some of your questions, I'm going to state as a blanket statement to everybody that no, I am not the mayor, and I'm not going to speak for the mayor, and I'm not going to speak for the finance director. But as far as like your payment structure, I can't answer that. I'm not sure how the payment structure is done. I think that Mohan would have to give that as a response. I know that we receive accounts payable every 2 weeks, but I don't know, it varies, is what I'm going to tell you. So I think that that's a good question, and I will forward that on to the mayor and to the village manager, the village clerk. Finance director, I'm sorry. The finance director and the mayor through the village clerk. I will pass that on. And I do think that your comment about the committees that you guys have, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm proposing to the board, is a more structured way to proceed in the future. And I would just like to say personally, and I'll offer the floor to the rest of the board as well, but the idea of the 5-year plan, I do think that's a good idea. I know that we've had in the past. I don't know that we've had one currently. And I think it is something that we need to look into. Did any other trustees have anything to add?
Yes, thank you, Madam Pro Tem. I just want to say, Ms. Davenport, that I made a statement that Mohan texted us and asked us, can he pay various bills, now that we're not having a meeting until January the 20th, until yesterday when the mayor added another meeting on January the 13th. So he's been emailing us or texting us, asking us, can he pay different things, because we're not having a meeting, and he needs to know if he has the permission to do those things. I made that statement, and that's why I said that.
On May violations, it's like,
well, there's no discussion back and forth. I want to make sure that we stay on the structured topic. But if there is continued conversation, I think Trustee Washington would not have a problem with staying around after if you guys would like to have the conversations. Okay?
I was just going to enlighten as far as what bills get paid. Usually, what's most important, what has to be, financially, your payroll, your compensation, things like that, they have to be paid each year. As far as vendors, every municipality is not, most municipalities, I won't say every, most municipalities are not current with their vendors. I mean, that's because the money doesn't come in each and every week. So we have to basically look at that, see, and that's what Mohan puts on the accounts payable, which ones are, due to a lack of a better word, are yelling the most. You know, that's just the same thing with the school district. They do the same thing. I mean, you guys, you know, I'm pretty sure you're not paying each and every time. If it comes in today, you're paying it tomorrow. So, you know, but as far as how do we determine that? And Mohan determines that, and quite naturally, yes, he talks to the mayor, to the mayor, and then it comes before the board, and then the board votes on accounts payable. That's why it's very important when you get your accounts payable to look at it. And this is, I said this many times, look at it and see what you're paying, because the mayor has deniability. He doesn't vote on it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, I understand that you guys are concerned now about the budget, but residents have been coming to these buildings for the last 14 years that I know of, asking you to do this, asking you to do that. Whenever somebody suggests something to you, act like you can't hear us. We want to know about our money too. We have asked you and continuously asked you about what's going on with our money. Nobody has an answer. You sit up here like we never, you don't know what we're talking about. And it's ridiculous. So now that the money is in your pocket, now you want to do all this. It's ridiculous that you ignore the people that pay your salary, and now you want to sit up and complain about the hanky back on your fund. It's a little ridiculous. And not only that, in the last 4 years, the first thing you said was the man acts like a dictator. Everybody gets up and walks out. He's acting like a dictator now while you guys sitting there. What's wrong? Did I miss something?
Let me say the finances, please.
It's all concerned finance.
Dictatorship is not concerned finances.
Now, anyway, based on the fact that you said that we on track with getting our revenue, now I want to agree with you on that, because in this building alone, we have even over 1,500 rentals. If you guys would go back to Texas, check the tax, property tax that we get in, we get a lot more revenue, but nobody checks on that. I thought that was something the trustees were supposed to do, check on the money. Nobody's been doing that. And nothing that you, residents that come here volunteer to do stuff, free. Nobody takes them home, because somebody wants to take them if they're not there real quick. And you know that's wrong. Now that you need our help, we're offering help for free. We'll sit on that committee and give you suggestions. Same suggestions we've been making for the last 14, 15 years. Another thing is that the police department, we have paid them $170,000 for overtime. Why would we pay them overtime if they can't even address the regular routine call? Something needs to be done. That's something we asked for before.
Can we skip the budget, please?
That's budget. I said $170,000 overtime. That's budget. We want to know what's going on with our money. I just asked you. You guys asked about the money. We're asking about the same thing. We have been asking and asking and asking. The same question about money. We also want to know who's taking vendor rights. That wasn't pretty good. Like Robinson Engineering. Nobody has been checking there, and they just do a $28,000 bill every month. What? Now, see, you don't have any respect for any employees. We ask them about our money. No respect for residents who pay their salary. That's one of your problems right there. You have to start listening to people.
Again, we ask that everybody stay to the structure that we normally have. It's a 3-minute time frame, and I ask that you stay on budgetary concerns. Just to answer a part of your question,
I didn't ask any question, I made statements.
oh, well, then you need to answer. Awesome, perfect. Next person, please. Thank you very much.
Larry Stewart, it's all good. First, I want to make a comment on the budget conversation that you're having. I want to comment that I'm really impressed with Mayor Pro Tem, how you conduct it should be looked at as each individual has somewhat spoken, to where all of a sudden it seems like we're taking notice on the financial budget. It's always been there. It's always, I meant like, what is the difference? Take a look around. You'll see what the difference is on why we're seeing the financial conversation talked about at this particular meeting. That was called for a particular financial reason. Yes, I understand. I think we ought to look at ourselves and then look around and see what's here and what's not. That's all I've got to say.
Hello, my name is Latanya West. Resident of Sauk Village. I have this one question I want to ask. That's trustee Burgess said it's 69%. With the budget, maybe what, 90%? You're 6 months in, right?
The one that I have is 7 months in, we're 8 months in right
8
now.
months in, you're over. So I wanted to know, my question was, how do you all calculate the budget during the time the court went over? Who's calculating? Who's calculating the budget to find out if you make a plan, you make a budget, who's calculating to say at this particular time, is it being calculated quarterly, how's it being calculated?
Is that your only question?
That's my about the budget because he talked about the budget is over. He's saying that he just recognized. So I'm trying to find out what's been going on during that time in between. Who's been calculating, who's been watching this?
If you have any other
Now that
questions,
it's just now being noticed that it's put over.
is that your only question before we respond? Okay. And I just asked because we asked that all questions be presented first, because there's really no rebuttal session, so that's why I asked. Okay. I don't know if anybody else wants to answer that, but just how the budgetary process goes that we've experienced in the past is in the absence of the village manager, the mayor sits down with the department heads, creates their idea of a budget. The mayor and the finance director goes through and kind of sees what's realistic, what's not realistic based on the past, based on the current, and then it's presented to the board. During that time at our budget meetings, we go through every page of the budget and we look through, can we cut this? Do we need to add something here? Is this realistic? That whole process happens and then we vote on the budget. So that's how the budget is created. As far as if anybody else wanted to add.
I was trying to find out who monitors it, because somebody has to monitor it to make sure that, it's not going over.
And that would be the responsibility of the village manager. And at this current juncture, the mayor, from my understanding, the mayor meets with the the finance director, and they discuss it. And I know that Trustee Burgess has asked multiple questions about it. And once questions are presented by the board, we receive that information. But there's no real, in my opinion, there's not a structure of like what I was talking about, a quarterly basis or anything like that. That's something that I would like to see happen. So I do hope that kind of answers your question, or if any other trustee has anything to add to that.
Thank you, Rose Lanston. A little disappointed, my comment first, that there was so much bashing going on before the budget and finance. I hear that the trustee is a liaison for the various departments. I wanted to know, is each trustee who's a liaison for that department, are they keeping track to see if the various departments are on track as far as the budget is concerned? And if so, why haven't we at the board been hearing the status of what each trustee has been acting with each department. I know that you're relying, always saying something about the mayor, but is every trustee a liaison with the various departments? That I've never heard. I just know that Trustee Burgess is on finance. And I think Trustee Williams, you're with the police department. And that's about all. I haven't heard Trustee Myers is on fire department. And I don't know who's on public works.
Can we try to keep as much of the budget as possible?
Pardon?
Can we kind of focus the questions on the
Well,
budget?
I wanted to know about if they're tracking the budget with the various departments. Because if it is, then we should be hearing about every report at the various meetings. I know that also on the budget, every trustee has been, I guess, paid $125 for every meeting and once a month committee meeting. I don't know if that is over the budget, because I know we've had several special meetings, and I don't know why most special meetings can't just proceed with the previous meeting, so we would only pay one trustee $125 instead of for all the special meetings.
Just to kind of, again, any other trustee afterwards, if you feel that you would like to expound, please do so. I would like to say that since this administration, we've had very few special meetings outside of the regularly scheduled board meetings or committee meetings. Sometimes to my disbelief, because we will schedule a meeting for 6 o'clock that in my opinion, I know is not going to take only an hour, but to have a special meeting prior to the regularly scheduled committee meeting in order to have that cost savings. So I know that is something that has been looked at, and if you, I don't have the exact numbers, but I can only think that the amount of special meetings that we've had since this administration has gone down drastically. Number two, to answer your question, as far as the elected officials' salaries, as far as the budgets, that's already in the budget. We're not over budget on that to my knowledge, but it's something that we could look into. But when we talk about elected officials and that page of the budget, the salaries are in that, both for the trustees and for the village clerk and the mayor. So that is something that's already in the budget. So to hope that, and your question about the liaisons. I asked for more clarification and more direction, because upon Mayor Hanks being elected to this position, he did kind of assign liaisons. And if you recall, when the former Mayor Towers was elected to the position, he also appointed liaisons. But even at that time, there was no direction, there was no support there. So, and this is just maybe how I feel, I'm thinking I would like to kind of have a blueprint. This is what I would expect from you as the mayor to this position that I've appointed to, I've appointed you to. This is what I expect from the department heads. And part of that would be budgetary concerns. Part of that would be comments or questions or concerns in general. And I agree with you. Once those ideas are kind of set, then I would expect that the trustees would be reporting upon them at board meetings. But currently, there is no structure that's happening.
Okay, first of all, I don't know, Rose, where you got bashing. We're not up here to do that. We're not bashing. Hopefully we're doing constructive criticism, and that's what we need to do. You asked about the budget for the elected officials. Right now, we're at 59% of the original amount, and this paper is at 59% of the budget. So right now, we're on track for where we should be as far as paying the elected officials. So it's right there. We've got as far as the liaison, as the Mayor Pro Tem stated, we don't have the power to tell a department head that he cannot spend money. We, as liaisons, we go in there and we listen to what the department heads need. We look at what they're doing. We look at, as far as what we can do to enhance their department. and we try to bring that back. And this is what Mayor Pro Tem is asking the mayor to clarify what it is we're supposed to do. I would think that you being the liaison, that you go and find out what your departments are doing, what they need to be bringing back to the village of the whole and say, okay, I'm in charge of, or I'm a liaison for so-and-so, and I think they can use this, or I think they cannot use this, or whatever, but we're not there to cut their budget. We can't tell them they can't spend this money. That's something that the mayor, with the consent of the board, does as a whole. But to tell a department head, well, you can't get these cars, you can't get, that's not what we do. That's not what the liaison does. They just go in there and they try to bring it back to the village of the whole, or to the board, what it is that they do. You know, I'm also liaison for the front office too, so it's not just, because the finance is not a department, it's just a person. So the finance chairman is just a person. So the department that I'm the liaison is the front office basically. So, but we cannot cut budget, we cannot go in there and tell them what they can and cannot spend. It's not our job to do that.
Trustee Washington?
And just FYI, I'm the liaison for codes, for the codes department.
Any other?
Of course. I am Francine Anderson, and I live at 1606 216th Street. And I'm going to take my 3 minutes to tell you that I'm glad that you called for a special meeting, but I'm also saddened that you sit here and you tell me that you got questions about the budget, that I sit here in June and ran down 32 items that I had personal questions about in front of you, that I took an hour and 15 minutes to explain to you in your open budget meeting. And you did not look at it. And now we're here today, 8 months later, you have a special call meeting by a trustee around budget concerns. You cannot sit here and continue to vote every 2 weeks on your information that's given you about our deal and about you have done that. And you sit here and been a patsy for the mayor. You have done everything that you wanted to do. You moved nothing from that budget. I asked you in the beginning, how in the world do you think we as a small town can pay a law firm $500,000? And now here we are 8 months later and you had 90% of it. I'm not happy. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm happy. I'm happy that you had enough gall to call this meeting to talk among yourself so you can put it in the public of what's really going on behind closed doors. But when you sit out here and you vote, every 2 weeks you give up everything that's asked of you. You do not get the questions every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks you spend our tax dollars. Then you come back here now as if you got a conscience. Why do you have a conscience 8 months ago? I sit here and I told you. I went through your budget. I had 32 items out of 37 pages. And I'm a citizen, not a public official.
Yes, you did. And you mentioned it very clearly that day.
And you still got the same crazy lawyers that every time you put something in front of their face, it costs us money. The same ones that milked us 4 years ago is milking us today. And you had nerve to give them all of the law. We don't even have 2 firms that you can balance one against the other. You got one. And watch them walk away with $800,000 in 1 year of our taxpayer dollars that we don't even manage. It's sad. You are a trustee. You are here to take care of our money and nothing else. I don't care what you do about anything else. You're just supposed to budget my tax dollars and make sure it's spent appropriately. When are you all going to get, just like you did today, enough gumption to lay out some people in this town, because you know the only way to save budgetary money is through people. Because through the people we save the not only salary, we save the FICA, we save the pension. We've had 2 people to die, unfortunately. Those positions you need to hold without filling. Since my time is up, but I got a lot more to say. You want to get up and know? Oh, they won't let me say more than 3 minutes. I would love to.
Can we stick to the village budget, please, sir?
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Just stick to the budget.
I just want to say,
Yes, trustee Burgess.
Madam Pro Tem, I just have one comment from ex-trustee Francine Anderson. There's a few mentions, you said a word that I have not heard in years, gumption. That's a powerful word. I just wanted to make that statement. I haven't heard that word in years. And I don't know if everybody understands what that means, but it's the,
Burgess stick to the budget.
no, I'm just saying, I just wanted to say that I never heard that word. I'm just kind of taken it back. That's all.
Are there any other comments?
My question is there a long-term budget plan? I mean, something to say, if you're gonna save money down the road, or will put money up instead of running out of money, having money in reserve? Is there a 10-year, a 5-year? Is there a way that somewhere in the future that you see money coming here? Is there a long term somewhere down the road? That's it.
I think we stated earlier that as of right now, there's not. There was in the past. There have been, comprehensive plans that involve budget and things like that. Also, plans for economic development, plans for expansion, things like that. We have had comprehensive plans in the past. We do not currently have one. And that is something that when Ms. Archie Davenport did bring up, I said that was something that I would like to see come back. Obviously, that's going to take some time and some effort and some money, but I do think that is important. So I asked that the village clerk could pass that on to one of my suggestions to the mayor. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Without that, we will notice that there's no miscellaneous on this agenda. So can I ask for a motion to adjourn from the board?
So move.
Second. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much for attending.
Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
Oh, yeah.